Welcome to the 2020 Greensteading Summit, presented by the Green Dream Project. This is a special series of videos featuring permaculturists, homesteaders, farmers, gardeners, and people dedicated to sustainable living. We thank you so much for joining us.
Hi guys, I'm Alex and welcome to this cob house. I have a business where I construct and educate on cob and rammed earth and earth wall building systems, and I want to teach you guys and give you a small introduction here to what that is. So what is cob and what is rammed earth, and what is an earth wall building? So essentially the material is made up of a combination of subsoil, which is typically right beneath your feet, and an aggregate or sand, and sometimes a fiber. And it's basically a combination, more or less, of these materials. And there's different ways that you can use the material to construct the walls. So for example, cob is sort of a sticky, moldable material that you sculpt the walls into form. Rammed earth is very similar to making a concrete wall, where you'd have a form and you would put the concrete into the form and the wall would come out in the shape of whatever that box form was. But instead we're putting earth into that form and compacting that earth and then removing the form. So there's even other ways to use these materials, which I won't get into details in this video, but very similar. So the main ingredients to make a cob are subsoil, aggregate, straw or fiber, and water. So these are actually the same ingredients you'll use for pretty much any earthen building material, the main ingredient being subsoil. So subsoil is the soil right beneath the topsoil, and topsoil you recognize because topsoil is usually a dark or dark brown color. At this particular site we have a layer of gray sand here in Florida, but normally throughout most of North America topsoil is a dark layer, usually a couple inches, and then dig beneath that and you'll find the subsoil. So here we have a pile of subsoil. This is what we've been using to build at this particular project. And subsoil has a higher consistency of clay. So that's what you want when you're looking for a soil for building with cob, is you want a high clay content, usually somewhere between 15 to 25% clay. And the rest of the makeup is silt and other aggregates. And sometimes there's a little bit of organic material in there, but we're really looking for that high clay content soil. So in a lot of regions where I work here in the southeast, it's a very red kind of color usually, but the colors of clay or subsoil can vary differently. They can be more grayish color, whitish, purplish, bluish. They're usually a reddish kind of color, or brown. That's one way to recognize it, is by color and the way that it feels, especially when it's wet. This here is very dry, but you can squeeze it in your hand and it generally kind of sticks together. So you can tell it's got a good bit of clay in there. Even though it's dry, it still sticks. Okay, so that's the major component of cob. Now, over here we have sand. So, the sand, one of the main purposes for sand is you have to get the right ratio between subsoil and sand. And the sand helps the cob, it prevents it from cracking. If you have too much clay, the cob will crack as it dries. So you balance that out with the right amount of sand. And it all depends on the region you're in. Sometimes you find a subsoil that's just the ideal ratio to where all you have to do is add water to it and it's perfect when it dries. But most situations you're not going to have an ideal subsoil, so you have to add a certain amount of sand or aggregate to it to prevent that cracking. So that's why we add the sand. And what you want to look for with a sand for cob is something that's very it has a very wide spectrum of particle sizes. So you want to have very small particles of sand up to larger pieces of aggregate, sometimes little pebbles even. But you want the sand to be rough and kind of edgy and sharp. You don't want to use beach sand because beach sand is very rounded particles and it doesn't have much structure to it. The clay in the subsoil on a microscopic level is actually made up of small platelets, and they act like little suction cups, so they actually hold and like suction the pieces of sand together. So in a way it's almost like you're building a sand house and the clay just holds the sand together. That's one way to think of it. So you want to have a rough kind of sand, like a concrete sand or like a masonry sand, something like that works really well. And the next ingredient is the fiber. So the fiber acts like a natural rebar for the cob. So you do put the fiber into cob and into adobe usually. You don't put fiber into rammed earth, but for cob it's really a necessity. So it acts like a natural rebar, and you'll see that straw has a very strong tensile strength, and it's very hard to pull apart when you have several pieces together. Just like rebar, you can't pull it apart. It can break laterally, usually, much easier, but it doesn't pull apart. So it acts like rebar in the cob and holds all the cob together into one monolithic piece. So cob and rammed earth and adobe and all these earthen wall systems all have really amazing benefits, and they all hold the same properties despite being built differently. They're all going to have the same major benefits. So some of the main benefits that I like about them are, first of all, their energy efficiency. Earthen walls are typically 18 inches to 2 feet thick, and so they act as a thermal battery. And if you want to implement a passive solar design into your building, earthen walls are an excellent combination to use with passive solar. So because these walls are so thick with thermal mass, they act as a natural temperature regulator for the inside of your building, and so they can save you a lot of money on energy expense. One of the other excellent benefits is that they're healthy and non-toxic. By eliminating all the stick framing, the drywall, the synthetic paints, and the insulation, you're getting rid of a lot of toxic chemicals, things that people would have allergies to, chemical sensitivities to, and you're replacing with natural materials that people don't have sensitivities to. And an earth wall home is going to last a lot longer than a conventional stick frame building. Usually a stick frame building these days is built to last one generation. Then after that, sometimes it's torn down and another one is built in its place. But with an earth wall system, they're made to last. They've proven the test of time. They'll last hundreds of years if well maintained and protected. And they work well in pretty much any climate. Even wet, humid climates, they do extremely well. And if you're in a humid climate, that temperature regulator is going to be very comfortable for you. They're also termite proof. Termites don't eat earth like they eat wood, so you don't have to worry about termites. Earth walls are also fireproof, so your house is not going to burn down like a wooden house would. The earth won't burn. The ceiling and the roof can burn, but the main structure of the building could withstand a fire even. So just as with any building, there are many components that comprise that structure, and the same goes for a cob building or a rammed earth building or any earth wall building. So you're going to have your typical components. You're going to have your foundation, you're going to have your windows and doors, your roofing system, your electrical, your plumbing, and the only major difference is that it's all integrating with these thick earth walls. So the main challenge is figuring out how to put all the pieces together and make it all connect, because it's a bit different from connecting it all into a wooden structure. So that's something I help people to figure out, is how to connect all the pieces. Once you figure out how to make an earth wall, a lot of people run into the challenge of how do I put it all together, and so that's one major thing that I help people with. So perhaps you're a do-it-yourself builder, or maybe you want to build your home off-grid or on a homestead. I just want to reiterate how great these earth building materials can be for situations and applications like that. You can save a lot of money if you do these methods on your own as a do-it-yourself builder. You can also find a lot of the material on your own property, save money there as well. But if you're interested in learning how to construct with these methods, I want to point you to my website. I have a free ebook at thiscobhouse.com. You can also check out my YouTube channel. I have tons of videos there on cob construction, earth construction. And on my website, I also have video courses, about 17 hours worth of videos on my website, thiscobhouse.com. And if you want to take another step further, you can come join me live at a hands-on workshop where I'll teach you how to build with these methods. I'll teach you cob, rammed earth, all the earth building methods and step-by-step from foundation up to roof and everything in between, how to build one of these structures. So thanks for joining me in this short video introduction on cob, rammed earth, and earthen wall building systems. I hope you got some useful information out of it. And again, check out my other resources if you want to get more into the details. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see some of you guys out there. Be safe and take care.
Once again, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to check out the other summit videos as well. They'll be available for a limited time on the Green Dream Project YouTube channel. Remember to check out the links in the video description for more information on our speakers and to find out how to get access to all the summit videos to watch anytime.